we here at Drinking Age Movies have discovered something while watching movies this month, or these past couple months, that is an alarming trend, and we're going to try to keep track of it for you. So hold on tight, because we're going to start an all along the Watchtower counter.
Now for this counter, is it only the Jimi Hendrix version, or do we also count the Bob Dylan version, the original?
I think we're going to count the Bob Dylan versions and any covers of All Along the Watchtower that may come out as well, because this is the second film that we watched, and while this one was the Jimi Hendrix version, the first one, which was in the movie Vegas Vacation, was a cover of sorts, where it was meant to sound exactly like the Jimi Hendrix version, note for note, but it wasn't Jimi Hendrix playing.
That's right.
So, we're going to keep this going. Like I said, this is the second film we watched, and we're going to keep count of this for the rest of the year. I think we'll restart the counter every year. So, 1997, you're up to 2 All Along the Watchtowers. See what you got.
That's right.
It's alive!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Workman, and I am the man of constant hatred.
And I'm Manny Classic, and this is Drinking Age Movies, a review show where we review movies from 21 years ago.
And this week we say happy 21st birthday to a film that's as fun to watch as it is to say. That's right, we're watching Howard Stern's Private Parts.
You want to be a disc jockey?
Very much so.
But are you an idiot? How well you stink?
You're a somewhat abnormal person with a somewhat abnormal job.
He was offensive.
The underpants are coming off. That is the first naked lady in the history of radio. This is disgraceful. We should be taken off the air.
Private Parts was released March 7th, 1997, directed by Betty Thomas. The screenplay is written by Len Blum and Michael Kosinsko. And the book that it's based on, of course, is written by the king of all media himself, Howard Stern, who plays himself in the movie along with most of his cast, Fred Norris, Robin Quivers. But you also get great performances by Mary McCormick, Paul Giamatti, and Allison Janney.
Howard Stern's Private Parts is about, well, pretty much Howard Stern's rise to become the king of all media. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, let's talk impact 21 years later.
For the movie itself, I don't think there's much of an impact. It's kind of a dramatized biopic, so those have been done, I think, better previously and afterwards. But Howard Stern, in and of himself, has gone on to do a couple other things besides his radio show, which is now syndicated through XM. He's also moved into more mainstream media, being a reality show host and things like that. Right. So he's still successful to this day, so that's a thing.
Right. And this was a pretty big deal when it came out because, you know, there's not a lot of people that go on to play themselves in films. I mean, like, Audie Murphy did it in To Hell and Back, the Audie Murphy story. Clint Eastwood just did it with 1517 to Paris, which at the time of this recording I haven't seen. I intend to. Maybe I'll do a review about it. Maybe I've done a review about it. We'll find out. So yeah, it was a pretty big deal when it came out. Stern, like you said, he was a massive presence. He pretty much pushed the envelope for years and years. Still does. And, you know, you can see where he has inspired a lot of people that have come after him, those wacky morning DJs that are always trying to be edgy like him, but aren't quite, and they come off real corny. But, yeah, the film itself, pretty standard biopic. It does a lot of good fourth wall breaking. I like that. But, yeah, good film.
Yeah.
All right. How do we feel about this film overall?
I think the film is actually a really great film. The story that it tells, not only gives you Howard Stern's public persona as a shock jock, but you also get more interest in his private life and those tender moments behind the scenes. You get some reasoning as to why he pushes so hard to become kind of this shock jock in an era where everyone was pretty much essentially a straight man.
Mm-hmm.
You get some great performances from all the actors in it.
Yeah. There's some. It's pretty uniform across the board. Really good cast.
On top of that, there's a really great soundtrack that goes with it. Given the fact that Stern is a DJ, there's a lot of music that transitions through the time periods in which he's big, because it kind of starts in the 70s, works its way through the 80s, and goes up to the 90s when, of course, this film is when the film is released. So there's a lot of great things in between there.
Yeah. There's a lot of Van Halen in this film. A lot of Van Halen. I think it really does strike a good balance between the personal and the public personas, because he goes on air and he does these absolutely lambastic things. He's just a huge personality on the radio, and then there's a scene where he's talking to a woman about her first lesbian experience, and his wife calls in, and he takes the phone call on the air, and she has to tell him that they're pregnant with their first child, which ends up being a miscarriage. And he puts it on a commercial, and then he takes the phone call, and it goes from this real big personality where he's talking about how great his sperm is and all this, and then he turns and he picks up the phone. He's quiet and he's reserved and he's real excited, and you don't see that a lot from the public persona of Howard Stern. So it was a really, really interesting kind of take, and a nice balance.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard Stern, playing himself, ends up getting nominated for a Razzie for this film.
Correct.
Which I feel is a little undeserved.
Well, I mean, for the same film, he also ends up getting nominated for a Blockbuster Achievement Award as Best Breakout Star of the Year, so...
Probably also not deserved. Probably also caused the fall of Blockbuster. Howard Stern, let us know in the comments. Did you kill Blockbuster?
That's right.
We're very curious. But a lot of good performances in this film going on down the line. You get Paul Giamatti as Kenny Pig Vomit.
That's right.
The NBC producer who's trying to rein in Howard near the end of the film.
We, also as a side note, we didn't just decide these movies with Paul Giamatti in mind. I know he was in last week's film as well.
Yeah, he was in Donnie Brasco. Just a mere coincidence. They just happened to come out like weekend after weekend. But that doesn't mean we don't love Paul Giamatti, because we're going to probably talk about him a lot, hopefully, on this show coming up, because he had a lot of really good bit parts, including this one. Mm-hmm. He's just fantastic. Even his little clip at the end of the credits, where he's just cussing Howard Stern out with the sound of jackhammers going over it, just hysterical.
I tried every fucking thing I could fucking think of to mold him into a proper kind of DJ, but that goddamn son of a bitch.
He's great. Mary McCormick playing
Allison
Stern.
Yeah, Howard Stern's wife.
Also fantastic. Every scene that she gets with him, she kind of commands it. She definitely kind of carries him in a lot of spots.
Yeah, she more so than Howard Stern, because, of course, most of the film is his kind of more public life. Mm-hmm. She is definitely the emotional crux of this film.
Yeah, she keeps bringing it back down to earth and keeps giving you something to root for. You want things to go well for her, especially because she moves around with him a lot. She puts up with a lot of his shit, and she's a wonderful, wonderful character. She really just brings everything back, and you just want everything to go well for Howard because of her.
That's right. Also, Allison Janney, who isn't in the film for a very long time, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes of screen time at most.
Yeah.
But her character is Dee Dee, pretty much this hard-edged, pseudo-conniving executive that works for NBC.
You want me to go on?
Is a magical performance in the limited amount of screen time that she gets.
Yeah, she's probably in the film, the character herself. She opens the film, first off. Mm-hmm. She's the first interview in a series of interviews throughout the film that you see. She's the first face you see on screen. She's just talking about how much she does not like Howard Stern. And she commands a lot of the screen that she's on, even though her character's probably in the film 5-10 minutes tops.
That's right.
Like 10 is probably a real liberal estimation, but that just tells you how much she stands out when she's on screen. And I didn't want to put this in the impact because I couldn't find any research on it, but her character in this is a lot like her character that she ends up playing in The West Wing 2 years later. So I could kind of see this being a precursor to that because she's real stern. She's real
Howard Stern.
Real Howard Stern.
Hey.
Pun not intended, but still great. She's commanding. She just takes up the entire amount of the screen whenever she's on. Like there's just no room for anyone else. Just like a lot of times. Just like her performance in I, Tonya, which when this airs, we will know if she has an Academy Award or not. She picked up a Golden Globe for, but we'll go ahead and scroll that across the screen right now if she's won, because it's going to be like 2 days later.
Yeah.
3 days later. So, good luck, Allison Janney. I hope you won.
Yeah, I hope so too, because you're phenomenal.
I did it all by myself.
Yeah, even though Laurie Metcalf was also phenomenal. I love you more, Laurie Metcalf. If you see this, know I love you. I know I've probably said it in like 2 other videos by now.
It's because she's real great and she deserves your love and adoration.
She does. I also hope you win the Academy Award. I hope there's a tie. It's happened before. It could happen again. Please, Academy, let that be a tie. Let both these wonderful actresses walk away with that award. If not, I really hope one of you really gets it. So, enough digression. The directing's fine. I think Betty Thomas does a nice job. She doesn't do anything that really stands out. Nothing over the top or lambastic. It's just fair cinematography. So, I mean, she does what she needs to do. She puts the camera where it needs to be. She captures great performances that she needs to capture. I feel this is kind of the same with a lot of her films. I mean, the Brady Bunch film was great. Dr. Dolittle, the first one, was a fun film, a nice remake. Alvin and Chipmunks 2, the Squeakquel, maybe less so.
To be fair, not the intended audience, so...
Also fair. The script is pretty good. It's pretty sharp. A lot of good laughs. It's co-written by Lynn Blum, who, of course, wrote some classic comedies. Meatballs.
That's right.
Stripes. Beethoven's Second, the best of the Beethoven series.
That's right.
Even though it doesn't have Dean Jones, who's the greatest.
It's alright.
I love Dean Jones.
With the book being written by Howard Stern himself, I'm sure he had some amount of overseeing to how the screenplay is written, even though he's not listed as one of the screenplay writers.
Yeah.
Especially since he's on set every day playing himself.
Right.
But yeah, it's the writing's what I would be expected for pretty much Howard Stern writing an autobiography and then being like, hey, let's turn this into a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel... so he did get to improvise the final monologue. He thought he was going to be able to do a lot more improvising, considering that that's what he does on the show every day. But he does fine. He comes in. They do a good job of making this this dialogue feel natural, as if it was off the cuff from the show. So I think that goes a lot to the scriptwriter's credit, that they could find Howard's voice and almost perfectly replicate it.
I think it's a real credit to Howard Stern and his team, and the fact that they are doing this movie while they're still doing the radio show in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing their regular radio show, they stop the radio show, and then they go and they do these filmings. For most of them, I feel it's maybe a little bit easier because they probably shot in New York. But Baba Booey, who gets these little cutout scenes as we're going from scene to scene transitions, is in, like, Chicago. He's in D.C. He's going everywhere. So he's doing the show in the morning
Yeah.
leaving, doing these things, and then coming back the same day to do the show.
I didn't even think of that while watching it because they must have shot like they do a pickup shot of Stern and his wife outside of the White House at one point when they moved to DC. I mean, a lot of this could have probably been shot in little corners of New York where it could look like a different city. You know, a lot of people do that. They you look at The Departed, they use New York to beat Boston.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it happens a lot. Vancouver is every city in America, apparently. But this is a specific pickup shot of the two of them walking past the White House. They must have done that on a weekend because there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It's like, so we're in the lower part of Virginia. For us, it's about a 3.5 hour drive. From New York, it's about a 5 hour drive.
Yeah.
Realistically, to get to DC.
Yeah.
So, unless they're doing it on the weekend, they're waking up at about 4 o'clock in the morning, doing the radio show till about 10, apparently, is when they leave.
Mm-hmm.
If they immediately leave at 10, they drive to New York. That's 3 in the afternoon.
That's nuts.
They're taping however long it takes, even if it's an hour.
I mean, if for Howard Stern to be there for an hour, that means that the film crew's coming in before he gets there to do setup. He walks on set, shoots his shit, and gets out.
Yeah, so like
Howard Stern's eats, shoots, and leaves.
These dudes are there all day. Like it's an affair. So, really great stuff there.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's Howard Stern. If you see this, leave in the comments. Let us know how this worked.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see this.
Probably not. Who knows? Honestly, one of my favorite parts of the movies is the very end of the movie. You get stuttering John Menendez yelling about the fact that he's not in the movie,
which is real funny because when you look at the timeline, he wouldn't have been in the movie. Like he's not a presence on the show when the story ends. Because he's like, I've been doing this for 8 years. The movie comes out in 97, which means it was shot in 96, which means he wouldn't have come on till 88.
88.
He says, I've been doing this for 8 years, and the movie ends in like 86 or 87. So he's just not a personality on the show in Howard's life at this point. So it wouldn't make sense for him to be there.
So the nuts thing is that while he's not in the movie, he's been on the show long enough to be in other movies. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but he has a cameo in the movie Airheads.
That's right.
Where he's the chronic masturbator when they're all yelling the things that they did in high school.
I used to masturbate. Constantly.
And of course, Lemmy.
Yeah.
I was editor of the school magazine.
So, fun fact, if you haven't watched Airheads, it's a fun romp. Go watch that. Not that it has anything to do with this movie, but...
It's probably like my second or third favorite Adam Sandler film. Because it had the least to do with Adam Sandler being the main character. But, yeah, no, Airheads is great.
Yeah.
And more digression.
Exactly.
Okay, so overall, this is a solid film. Fine directing, good script, great performances. It doesn't stray too far from a normal biopic narrative of someone on the rise in entertainment. So the fact that it has been done better before and has been done better after, I'm saying based on our scale, I'm going damn great.
Yeah, so, like was just said, great soundtrack, great performances by all the actors that are in there, especially great performances from those actors and actresses that aren't necessarily playing themselves. They really allow the Howard Stern cast to play up who they are while anchoring the film in a more grounded sense of reality.
Right.
I think the cinematography is better than average, given the fact that most of this is a group of people talking in buildings.
Yeah.
Honestly. So it's not like you get a whole bunch of dynamic outside shots, everything like that. Paul Giamatti, Allison Janney, like we said. So based on our scale, I'm also going to go damn great.
So what did you think of Private Parts? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you also on board with thinking that Howard Stern caused the decline of Blockbuster? Let us know in the comments below.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to know when we put new videos out, there's a bell icon that you can click that'll send you notifications.
And as always, have a damn fine day.